really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
Trust.
He's pretty big trust.
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.
We're back on the Jumbo Set podcast, presented as always by our good friends over at Jimmy's Famous Seafood. My name is Jake Louque. I'm joined on my screen by Spenny Hit Stick. How are we doing tonight on this Tuesday?
Doing all right. Not sure what happened with my eye. We were saying right before this. I don't know. Bad things come in threes. My dog was all messed up. He's okay. Tutu's wandering around now, but he's got a bloody belly of a rupture of a hematoma in his leg, but he's okay. He's fine. Had some scares this summer with him. Then my debit card got hacked and someone bought ridiculous things. They bought a tactical mounted scope, for example, which is all squared away. And then because of that, my electric was shut off today because I didn't realize my auto pay wasn't going through on my Baltimore General Electric bill, but it took like 20 minutes to get taken care of. So bad things come in threes. And I've got 3 bad men that I'm going to do a little mini film breakdown. I didn't pull a ton here. Obviously, so the day was a little bit busy, but I've got 3 bad men I wanted to talk about who made some bad man plays. They were the bad men ultimately. So lots of fun stuff to get to. Nice to have a winning week after that crappy week 1. I know there's probably still some incels, on Twitter that are still writhing at the bid, and there's like John Harbaugh, 312 people or whatever signed some little petition, all that fun stuff. But
Which is great. Keep that stuff coming.
Yeah.
Have fun. Do what you got to do.
Do exactly what you have to do. Fan the way you want to fan. Absolutely. So yeah, it's good. A win. Ravens are at home for the rest of the season. They're at home for 4 out of 5, including that Browns game. So 3 of the next 4 they're at home. Travel to KC, and going to KC after some home games and then having a home game after, I think is a good thing. So fun stuff. And yeah, I'm excited for this coming stretch and this Monday Night Football game that we'll get to later in this week. But yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, it just feels like things have calmed down a little bit, which is in fact a very good feeling. And again, it reminds me, like I said, I was having some dark thoughts throughout the first half of that Browns game. I was thinking things were going to be as low as they had been since this time last year, when after a week 2 home opening loss to a much inferior team, I was very down in the dumps. I remember we were sitting in the back of Clipper City Barber Company doing a pod there. And man, I had already kind of been down on that team, had them around 10-7. They started out 0-2. The math was not mathing for me. I was feeling some type of way. But this time around, it feels like the bitter taste washed out a little bit. Talked about it on the post-game recap on Sunday night about how it just felt like the Ravens didn't allow themselves to fall into that trap again. I didn't even really necessarily see it as a trap game, but just kind of you get enough emotional scar tissue built up and you can start to think every which way. So I don't know. It felt like, and we'll get into it, that they were maybe being lured into taking the cheese a little bit, but they did not this time. 4 touchdown passes from Lamar Jackson. Defense did what they had to do, albeit against a test that you really should pass with flying colors, but they did. So we're good and going into a much more competitive game here on Monday Night Football, which, like you said, we'll talk about a little bit more later in this pod and much more in depth next week. But yeah, feeling good, feeling fine. The bitter taste has been washed out of my mouth.
As it should be, even against a Browns team that the Ravens were big favorites on. It's still nice to see them take care of business and not do what they did. We talked about in the preview. Don't do what you did last year. Hey, could you not go lose to the Raiders after losing to the Chiefs? Hey, could you not go lose to the Browns after losing to the Bills and just compounding from bad to worse there? So very nice to not have that occur. Simply was a delightful little treat, and we'll get into all kinds of things here. But I just really liked seeing the Ravens hit defensively. The Browns were hitting too, The Browns were out physicaling, I should say. They weren't really laying the wood, in the open field a bit. But the Ravens defense with Ray Lewis, Rod Woodson, with everybody, Terrell Suggs, with everybody in the house, they were hitting like the old school Ravens. And sure, this was a 41-17 game. It was a garbage time backups scoring a touchdown, which you could say the old Ravens wouldn't have let that happen back in the day. Football is different back then. But that and then the fluky, Marlon Humphrey drop pick, which we talked about. So they handled business in this one. And the Browns gave them a nice test, and we can talk about that stuff. But it just felt right. And I've been someone who's come on here and bitched and moaned about like the crowd and the energy and things like that. That's why I chugged that gallon of milk against the Texans. Like we launched sweatshirts, make the bank loud again. Bank's loud again. And the Browns, I know it's the home opener, but Browns double point favorites. Like it is the 30th anniversary, and Joe Flacco definitely still excites a lot of this fan base in specific quadrants, however you want to put it. But I was just pleased with the energy by both the team and the crowd and in the home game. It was a 1:00 day game, like not like it was a night game or anything like that. It felt like the energy of a night game. I didn't feel like there was as much moaning and groaning going on when they had some rudderless areas offensively, and the Browns were kind of running roughshod up front. So I just thought the kind of spiritual, intangible things were good, especially following a tough Bills loss against a team that they're double-digit favorites. So the crowd was full at the start of the game. The crowd was full in the third quarter. It was a good experience in that regard. And we do these instant analysis episodes. That's why we love the jumbo set. We say it every time. We can come back, and once the emotions have died down, we can think about the things that stay, and that's what stayed for me.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think some of those thoughts, I think in that first half that I was having, it felt like they were playing with their food a little bit. It felt like Henry just wasn't getting off on the front foot there, and the passing game wasn't totally clicking. And yeah, like I said, it just kind of felt like playing with their food, playing down to a lower opponent. Are they going to be able to respond, or are they going to let themselves get dragged into a rock fight here and potentially lose? And I think I walk away encouraged because they very much did not allow that to happen. And you and Cole, I think, were talking about it in one of our group chats, that they pivoted when they realized the run game wasn't going to work. Pivot. Shout out to David Schwimmer. When the run game, it became clear it wasn't going to work, they said, all right, well, guess what? We don't need it. We know you got Mason Graham. We know you got Myles Garrett, who obviously is not even as much of a run defender as he's a pass rusher, but you got all these big bodies up front, and you're clearly committed to stopping Derrick Henry. That seemed like they're very much their prime goal in this game, and obviously they did it. They hold him to 23 rushing yards throughout. I think Lamar was the second leading rusher in this one, when Justice Hill actually carried the ball a couple times, which isn't great. Lamar, I think, only ran the ball one time, maybe picking up a first down, if I remember correctly. So overall run game just totally bottled up. But like I said on the recap show, encouraged by the fact that not only are they as deep at wide receiver as they've ever been, like you had mentioned on the recap, but they're willing to air it out when they need to. And listen, there are some talented enough players in that Browns secondary. I know Ward had his health issues throughout the game, and you've got Grant Delpit back there still. Like, there are some guys that potentially could have bottled up the passing game too. But like you said, too deep at wide receiver. I think Todd Monken very much knows what to do with those guys. And it gets to a point where three of your, let's face it, your backup receivers, because Zay and Bateman are your starters there, are scoring for you, with Hopkins getting the one. Really should have been two, but we won't dwell on that. I won't dwell on the fact that you lost, copious amounts of US dollars on that. I really hate that for you, bud, but it's Tylan Wallace. It is Tez Walker with what's hopefully a breakout game for him. And also the fact that Andrews had a pretty bad game by his standards. He doesn't get that first down. He has the quote unquote drop in the end zone. That's another one they could have taken another look at. Didn't make a football move. So I think I'm good with them calling that one back. But yeah, you can't run the passing game through. Guess what? You don't have a running game. You can't run the passing game through the tight ends. Well, you can't run it with your quarterback, which is another lever that you typically pull in these situations. Well, you can still throw it all over the yards. Zay Flowers around 75 yards, doesn't score, but then the other guys are scoring. And then you mentioned the defense showing up and standing on their head, and special teams having a big impact in this one, with Wester having the long return and Jake Hummel blocking the punt. Just an overall very solid team effort. It felt like when answer A wasn't there, they turned to answer B with no problem. And that's not even counting the some of the situational issues where, like I had written on Twitter, they're trying to answer true false questions with 5-page essays, like when they get down to the 1 yard line there, then they get backed up and they throw it 3 times or however that worked out. I don't know. Even despite all of that, it just felt like a nice table setting win. And, as much as it being against weaker competition might not impress anyone, I don't think it impresses me all the way. Just a nice washing out, washing the hands of week 1 and moving on, proving that you still belong in this upper echelon, proving that you're not going to let these types of opportunities to get what should be an easy win slip through your fingers. So a nice feeling overall.
Well said. And I loved the adaptation that Todd Monken made, the adaptation, I should say, that Todd Monken made to give up on the run game. Wasn't working. Browns were selling out. It didn't become some war of attrition of, I'm a big, strong man, big, strong, hairy football man. I'm got Derrick Henry, and no, just throw the fucking ball. Run play action. Throw the ball. Chip. Help out your offensive line. Ravens' offensive line got whipped, especially left side, left tackle, left guard, center. Whipped. Beat
got
like
their
a
asses whipped, as Bill Burr would say.
Absolutely whipped. So that was interesting overall. And the adaptation, like I mentioned, was impressive to me overall. Then on the defensive side of the football, I thought the Ravens, just like I said, they hit and they hit and they hit. And I guess to kind of get into it a little bit here, first wanted to start, I might end up getting this out of order by accident, but wanted to start here. I've just noticed, I don't know, Nate Wiggins to me looks like he likes playing at home a lot more than on the road. He gets really into it. He loves feeding off of the crowd and makes big plays in Baltimore. It's kind of just something I saw on tape a little bit last year. He played okay in Buffalo, wasn't like he had some awful game by any means. And then in this game, he was so good. Came up, so good at the top of routes. There's a couple reasons, and we'll get into it. But I asked Gordon McGinnis over at PFF. He said, fun question in regards to what the PFF grade was for home versus away split. Not something I've ever thought about before, I guess, like grade-wise. But he said, fun question. At home, Nate Wiggins has an 80.3 PFF grade with an 80.2 PFF coverage grade. And away, it drops 18 points. 62.2 PFF grade, 57.4 PFF coverage grade there. So that to me was one of the 3 guys that I wanted to shout out here. And I'm going to pull it up. I think I can get the correct one here. Yep. So you see Nate Wiggins, you see Kyle Hamilton. The Ravens are going to run a sim pressure. Kyle Hamilton's going to come from the safety spot, come off the edge. The Ravens are going to drop the other way. Nate Wiggins backs it up, has that vertical plane, passes off, snaps on it. He saw the pressure getting through. This is a pounder of a hit. This was an absolute hit stick. That's why, if you're watching on YouTube, my name is Spenny Hit Stick for the evening, because the Ravens had 4, 5, 6 hit sticks in this game. Bam. That was a straight Madden 2010 hit stick that we saw there. I'll play it one more time just for posterity, but really, really, really laid the wood. And the energy is there. The Ravens were able to, because of the Browns' poor tackle play, I think, drive on the football. They knew that the immobile Joe Flacco, who had maybe one of the funniest scrambles I've seen in the last couple of years here, he can still kind of run a little bit fast in a straight line, but he was like moseying, elbows churning, all that stuff. But because the Ravens knew the Browns wanted to get the ball out quick, crowd noise was a factor, tackles weren't great. Why did we see Roquan Smith have such a good game? I think part of the big reason is because he could drive on the football. Kyle Hamilton, several times in this game, drives on the football. Nate Wiggins drives on the football. Marlon Humphrey drives on the football. Those factors matter. The Ravens don't really lose to non-mobile quarterbacks.
They were
hitting,
just a pocket passer, a little more traditional. They were hitting the hell out of Flacco every time the ball left his hand too. I don't know if you picked up on that.
If he held the ball beyond a one step or beyond first read, he was getting touched. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that must have had Brian kind of in his feelings a little bit. They were not giving him, any reprieve. He was getting hit all the first half. I think he probably got spooked a little bit and started to see ghosts. And you mentioned the sim pressures too. It felt like they had played things a little more vanilla against Buffalo, I think, for my taste. So to see them kind of mixing it up and seeing Orr kind of being a little more Mike McDonald-y, maybe. That's probably an oversimplification, but it just felt more diverse. It felt like they were more prepared to try and create chaos. And, listen, you get 2 turnovers as a result. And that's what we talked about going into that week 1 game, and they don't force a turnover. And then you do it, and then you force 2. And obviously it's a much different level of competition, but it's encouraging.
It is encouraging. And again, I love just seeing the tenacity coming downhill overall. Hit stick time. Let's go hit stick number 2. This one's definitely, these other 2 have gotten a little more burn for sure. Kyle Hamilton here. Ravens are in 2 high. You see Kyle Hamilton go just recognize the underneath concept, drive on it, knowing where the first down marker is on 3rd down. Just drive downhill. He passed off Njoku there. You can see the coverage. Passed off Njoku, kept his eyes to the quarterback, jumped right through it. He trusted the coverage on the backside to go pick up Njoku, knew where the first down marker was. They were just driving downhill. They knew that they could. And any defense, it's not just the Ravens defense, when you can feel confident that your pass rush is going to get go home, that the other team doesn't want to hold the ball. That's why I think the Dolphins have a lot of trouble at times with Tua, who doesn't like to hold the ball. What happens when he holds the ball and he can't hurt you with his legs a ton? So a huge hit here from Kyle Hamilton, who played lights out in this game. Him and Rod Woodson just did an interview on the Ravens page together, which was really interesting. I listened to the first 10 minutes or so. Definitely go check that one out. He talks about kind of his film study, and they talk about Ed Reed and some other cool things there. But hit stick number 2, Hamilton has been the jungle cat of this defense, I'd say, with those aggressive, I hate the word instinctual, but when he sees it, he attacks it. And there's no hesitation. That's why I call him, the one of the dumb jocks. See concept, make guy pay. That's awesome. In addition to the coverage skills, and in addition to the versatility, in addition to the leadership qualities, but that's how this Ravens team, that needs to come back to being their identity. I think it's the identity of this city. I think it's the identity of what this Ravens franchise is and what they've gotten away from. So many of their draft picks, so many guys that they trot out are littler guys that are tenacious, sure. But I loved to see Kyle Hamilton, the 3rd player I'll pull up. You guys can probably guess, but Nate Wiggins, not the biggest guy, heaviest guy on earth. And just the tenacity. Tavius Robinson, to me, that's why I'm really excited to see the hype train about Tavius Robinson from this offseason. He played really well in this one, and I would say all facets. He's a big, strong, physical presence. And I think that's what this Ravens defense hasn't been. That's what they lack. I think of the Rams as being a really physical defense that makes you pay. Their front makes you pay. And they've had, Aaron Donald, Braden Fisk, not the biggest guys in the world, but I think of just the physicality they play with. That needs to be what the Ravens hang their hat on. I think it instills that fear. I think it makes receivers question things, leads to sailed balls, quick throws, things overhead. The sitting back on your toes against Buffalo in Buffalo and hoping that your offense continues to score and you can just slow the Bills down. To me, it can't be the case anymore. So I was happy to see them flip the script from.
Guess who's not the biggest defense and doesn't really have that many intimidating presences? Buffalo. And guess who was hitting the hell out of Lamar and ball carriers? Joey Bosa and Ed Oliver that whole game, and probably created some timidity. They created chaos, caused turnovers, and might have even banged Lamar up at the end of that game with that big hit by Ed Oliver. So it's I don't know, man. It seems like there's something to that.
Yeah, it's being physically imposing, wearing the opponent down, and the Ravens defense ended up being on the field for 85 snaps week 1. They were on the field for much less. Had it in front of me. They're on the field much less in this game. They were on the field for, I believe, 69 total plays, if I'm not mistaken. Nate Wiggins played 69 snaps. So still a good bit, still a fair amount, but the starters able to come out. For instance, Roquan Smith played 66 snaps. So yeah, I thought that was all dandy. And then finally here, this third one, again, not any crazy film analysis breakdown going on here, but I think Roquan Smith here was the guy who did his tape study. Watch how quickly he broke on this. Watch how quickly, clearly they knew this play was coming. Clearly they knew based on the alignment. Watch again how quickly, once the ball is snapped, he's moving to where the ball carrier is. He's not even sprinting because he got there so early, and that's what I loved. It was controlled aggression about this play. Humphrey getting up on Njoku and Roquan Smith like a running back. making a hit in the backfield. These negative plays, these plays where they could drive downhill, these plays where they clearly had a feel for what the Browns were doing were excellent. I don't know. Like, again, not to harp on the Bills game, but be that way, regardless of opponent, when you have an offense that has now scored 75 points. They had or 74, whatever you want to put it, if you want to count the extra point. They had the defensive touchdown. Offense has scored 34 and 41. So it has to be default aggressive, default bold, default jump. I think you have the margin for error, especially in the regular season. Like, when you go play Mahomes, default aggressive. They did the whole tit for tat. They played the Chiefs' way in that January 2024 AFC Championship game. How did it end up? You didn't score any points, and they made plays. And you played their game. You played the conservative little wing tee game that the Chiefs like to play. No, go make them turn the football over. Go take the football away. Go impose on them physically. So just those plays stood out to me. There was a couple more. Teddy Buchanan had a nice play. Trent Simpson had a nice play coming up, attacking the line of scrimmage. Again, I mentioned Tavis Robinson. Loving what I'm seeing from Nnamdi Madubuike. All those guys. So fun. It was fun. That's what's fun to me about being a Ravens fan. I'm 32 years old. That's what I think of when I think of fun memories. It's an aggressive Ravens defense. 30th year anniversary. You got everybody in the house. Maintain that, especially at home, especially with the Lions coming in this Monday night.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just kind of, I think part of that speaks to what modern defense needs to be, where you're just like, it's almost impossible, especially when you talk about going against Mahomes and Allen, and you probably throw Herbert in there at this point, Burrow when he's healthy, which we can talk about. Man, you're just not going to shut down an offense like that for 4 full quarters in the modern NFL. Just the way the rules are structured, the way that the space just seems to work out a lot better for these dynamic athletes at wide receiver and tight end and running back. It's just so much harder to do that against one of those top offenses. So like we've been saying for weeks now, it's really about putting a premium on getting your hands on the ball. And I think driving to the ball is a good way to start that. You know, drive on a pass a little bit early, pop one up in the air, see if you can come down with a pick, drive on the ball when a guy is carrying it up the middle, see if you can pop it out, use the arms, bring the fruit punch back, Marlon, or coach these guys up on how to do it. Really just put that at a premium. So when you do face those tougher tests, you're able to come through for your team. And I think Jake Hummel had some comments on his block and how that was a big emphasis for them, and how he looks at special teams plays like a return or like a blocked punt as a defensive turnover, essentially. Yeah, it's just all about creating chaos and just trying to turn the football over, get your hand on the football, put it at a premium, and don't just try to be like the shut things down, play conservative, play to the sticks every single time, because against these superstar alien quarterbacks that we talk about, like that can burn you a lot of the time. Funny clip I saw our guy Garnett putting out there, just from Marcus Peters, totally laced with language that I can't repeat, but just about how in high school, like, he didn't want to be a shutdown corner, because shutdown corners, like, yeah, it's cool. Maybe you'll go to the NFL, you'll get a big contract, but he's like, I like to get my hands on the ball. I like to make plays, because the girls like the guys that made the plays. The girls like the guys that would pick the ball off and score touchdowns and all that kind of stuff. And obviously you had that with Ed Reed a long time ago. You had that with MP Juice Man for several years. It'd be nice to start seeing a lot more of that from this defense, because we know they can shut down Joe Flacco. We know they can probably do that against 9-10 of these teams on their schedule, but there's going to be tougher tests that you're going to have to face. And I think this, could be a tune-up towards putting a premium on just creating chaos around the football.
Well said, and obviously been such an emphasis on doing so. Nate Wiggins comes up with a big interception as a result of trusting Kyle Hamilton to pass off to, so that he can come make a play on the ball. So was really pleased with the communication, really pleased with the crowd noise, the way the Ravens handled the crowd noise. Crowd noise is more adverse to the offense because it eliminates clean communication, the ability to use hard count. It necessitates effort from the offensive line to coordinate getting off the ball, getting lined up correctly, snapping the ball cleanly, all of those things. But it is not easy for the defense to deal with either when they can't scream and communicate. It's got to be hand signals. It's got to be trust. It's got to be clean. And to play aggressive and play clean the way that they did was nice. It was impressive. And no, the Browns don't have good tackles. The Ravens beat up on them. No, Joe Flacco is not some spry Allen Mahomes, Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray, freaking tough to go drag down and can roll out and get the sideline and all that stuff. But was really pleased with the pressure packages Zach Orr threw together. Would like to see the sim pressure again. Like, what did I say after the Bills game? I'm just going to keep referencing Mahomes week 4. If he knows what you're doing, he's going to play well. He's going to find the guy. He's going to make the throw. They're smart. They're experienced. I mean, Goff knows you're not hitting him. You're just sitting back playing coverage. He knows where he can go find the sun god. He knows where he can go find Laporta. So I think really over the next couple of weeks, continuing to roll out more simulated pressure is what the Ravens need. And shit, that way you might get scorched a time or two, but your offense is averaging 37.5 points a game. So you have margin for error to play with. And that's why the Eagles, man, the Eagles, maybe they play a little more like the 2019 Ravens. They have these long sustained drives, the tush push. They can eat an entire quarter up. Their defense plays aggressive as shit because they know that offense can go rip your heart out with those sustained drives. They have the explosives from Barkley. They've got A.J. Brown. Hurts doesn't turn the ball over a ton. So I look to what they did last year and how they've started out this year is be aggressive. That's how you have to win today and be a good, strong defense. I mentioned the Rams. I'll throw the Texans in there, even though CJ Stroud put them in some precarious situations and didn't really take advantage last night against the Bucs. But be aggressive, man. And it's not aggressive like Wink Martindale aggressive. It's aggressive like Mike McDonald aggressive. It's aggressive like confusing the quarterback aggressive. It's aggressive like trusting your guys not to blow coverage and simming pressure aggressive. And it's driving on the football, hitting, catching the football, all of those things. So look forward to seeing what they can throw at home over these next 3 more home games over the next month. And with Mahomes wedged in there is another test following what Josh Allen did late when you were maybe not quite, we broke it down. They ran some cover zeros and stuff, but I hate that shit now. I hate cover zero against these good, smart, experienced mobile quarterbacks at this point in time.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge test. I think Detroit obviously will be too, just with what they were able to do against Chicago, just dropping a 50 burger on Ben Johnson, which, love a good revenge game, especially when it goes both ways. Jameson Williams, I'll be curious to see after his hot start here, how they're going to handle him. Yeah, man, it feels like, I don't know if the Lions are all the way back to that kind of Ben Johnson high flying territory, but that certainly has me a little bit concerned going into this game. Are you going to be able to play the ball in the air? With Brandon Stevens out of the picture, is Jair Alexander going to be ready to go in this one? Do you want him to go? Do you want him to take another week to kind of get his head right? I think that's going to be at a premium, but Goff, he's not as immobile as Flacco. He's a much quicker release of the football, much better operator at this point, cleaner operator. So yeah, it's definitely gonna serve as a test, and you'll be under the lights and Monday Night Football prime time, waiting all day for Monday night. So excited to get into that one.
Yeah, definitely here, and you can it might be a little tough to see, but can take a look at coverage usage over the first 2 weeks as charted by Football Insights. And you can see the Ravens there towards the middle. They used a lot of cover one in this game. Malachi Starks was sitting on the roof a lot more. Kyle Hamilton, like we saw, able to drive on the ball a little bit more, especially into those field splits when there was more space and you could see where the space was. We see the Ravens probably 5th in the league in cover one usage. I do think the Browns game weighed on that a little heavily, especially because they knew that they were going to get the ball out quickly underneath, didn't trust their guys. Cover 3 usage, a little bit below average. Cover 6 usage, a little bit above average. But Malachi Starks, I mean, that's the goal, right? You to use Kyle Hamilton driving on the football, right? As Jake laughs at me, just one little small, me removing myself from the picture there. But you see Malachi Starks enabling Kyle Hamilton, and we haven't seen maybe that signature play from him yet. Haven't seen the signature fuck up either. So that is the most important part, right? Why did Kyle Hamilton last year have to go revert back and did such a good job at it? And very much so, I think, why the Ravens paid him what they paid him. But Malachi Starks back there looked like he knew where to be. I think some of the underneath recognition is going to take a little bit of time. And it's always a jump there. But over top, no mistakes, knew what he was doing. Felt good being able to rotate Hamilton down from those too high pre-snap looks into the box, stuff like that. And yeah, I'm excited to see what this defense could do. Teddy Buchanan, Trenton Simpson, definitely big talking points. The rotation there. Buchanan, again, like why did Roquan Smith play so well? Well, I think because not a mobile quarterback. I think not knowing that the Browns couldn't hold the ball, he could drive on the football. And I think that was a little bit less worried about what was going on next to him as he's had to be at times throughout last season. So,
and you also had Ray Lewis pulling his kind of Emperor Palpatine routine, behind him, let the hate flow through you, Hunter's Hunt, things of that nature. That had to have fired him up. Plus probably a little bit of smelling salts would be my guess.
I would love to see a little bit of the smelling salts rocking and rolling. I could use one right now, to be honest. Woo! But it was strong performance in that regard. I think Teddy Buchanan knows where to be. I think Trenton Simpson's role has been simplified. Teddy Buchanan played a lot more linebacker in college than Trenton Simpson did. Trenton Simpson moved roles at Clemson, played that overhang role, rushed the passer off the edge, played some will, wasn't a lot of processing, wasn't maybe a career linebacker in high school, things like that. So, yeah, I think that's normal. I think people are like, well, I think Trenton should play more. I think Teddy should play. They're both going to pick and choose. They're going to have their down and distances, their packages.
Yes. Yeah, I'd be curious about the usage with Simpson. Like they mentioned the idea of him maybe filling in as an end with Van Noy being out, which I think is interesting. People probably wouldn't have thought Malik Harrison would have played that rush role that he did after he came back from the gunshot that he took, and he actually wound up filling that role pretty well. He was much more of that traditional kind of inside, or at least, strong side linebacker at Ohio State. So maybe that could be something for Simpson to do, because people are concerned about his level of play at this point.
Yeah. And rotating guys is normal. Having it's still not like Trenton Simpson's played, 1,800 snaps on a defense and started for 15 straight games, anything like that. So having them have their sub packages, or having Trenton Simpson play in some sub package, having Teddy Buchanan play the will in the base defense. What Harbaugh had said was, we're not going to play Trenton Simpson as a D end, but we'll play him, certainly as a Sam in base defense. Now, do they use base defense a lot? Not really. Depends on the opponent, but an option for Trenton Simpson to add more value. And yeah, I thought Trenton Simpson would be playing the way that he played in this one last year. I thought that at worst he would be playing 15 snaps, looking good, being able to sift through screens, being able to go fill in against the run a little bit. Didn't pan out that way. Definitely had his struggles, definitely lost playing time, and we saw how that went. But again, more competition. Teddy Buchanan drafted relatively high by the Ravens, an experienced guy, played a lot of real middle linebacker across a couple colleges in college. And yeah, so I liked what I saw from Buchanan just in terms of moving on a string with Roquan Smith, sifting across the gap, as I'm doing a little bit of a crab shuffle here, but shuffling across the gaps. If Roquan shoots, you stay, replace him with calm down, be ready to move forward, but you don't need to go screaming where Roquan's screaming. Replace where he did in the event that he misses. So that was something I saw a lot of working through in the run game. Teddy Buchanan, block deconstruction looked all right. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Those guys both want snaps. They're going to push each other. And I think that the more they push each other, the more that it enables Roquan Smith to be himself and not worry about the fuck ups going on around him. And if he's not worried about someone else fucking up, he can play faster. He can go be more aggressive and go make some of the plays that we saw him make in this game. The scoop and score, I think Next Gen Stats had him with the fastest sprint speed since he's been a Raven, over 19 miles an hour. So looking fast, running fast, playing fast, hitting big hits, physical. Baltimore Ravens football. That's what I like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think offensively, some concerns remain along the offensive line. I think we already mentioned kind of how poor they were in this game, even throughout some of when the passing game started to click. You think about the first bomb to Hopkins there, the non-touchdown, that definitely should have been a touchdown, where Lamar is kind of dropping back and he's sort of immediately has guys on him, has to shift to his left and makes that throw. I think of that 3rd and 13, which really was a sort of a killer play for the Ravens against the Browns, kind of a dagger play where Lamar's running to his right, has a guy wrapped around his knees, makes the throw to Zay Flowers on that 3rd and 13, whatever it was. Like, that's Lamar covering up for some deficiencies there. The calls against Falele are getting louder and louder. I'm not really sure what the solution is at this point. I think Voorhees has looked solid in the run game. He's very active and mobile in a way that you really don't see from Falele, but definitely some concerns. And pass pro with him, and then Roger Rosengarten maybe not playing up to what we would have hoped for at this point throughout his sophomore season. So concerns remain there. I'd be interested to see them against Aiden Hutchinson and co here.
Yeah, I think Rosengarten's been pretty solid in pass pro. I tweeted earlier that he reminds me of Trevor Ariza, the 3-and-D wing, longtime 3-and-D wing. Like, I think he has nice, light feet. His vertical set is clean. I think he's going to be a good pass protecting right tackle for a long time. He's not, like, he doesn't have a real beard. He probably smells kind of nice. Like, he is not stinky enough. He's not big, thick, burly, stinky. He's a finesse right tackle that's a good pass protector. It was interesting, and I want to find this video. I said it to Cole too, because when he was drafted, RIP to Joe D, but Joe D went up and dapped Harbaugh because we had heard that they were eyeing up Rosengarten going into day 2. Like, before pick 33, the Ravens wanted Rosengarten. They were picking in the 60s. And lo and behold, they end up getting their guy. Him and Harbaugh dap up. And Joe D, maybe he just simply misspoke, so I've overthought this the entire time, but Joe D said to Harbaugh, he's where we want him in the run game. We just got to work on pass protection. And I was like, what? Wow, I really saw him not that. I saw him the complete inverse. And maybe he just simply mixed up the words, because I do that all the time, but it has not been that way. And he's a second-year player, and he is going to have to get more crafty with his hand usage as he's trying to reach Ed Oliver, as he's trying to reach Myles Garrett in the run game or reach one of these big uglies. He's going to have to figure out where his elbow can go into the hip so that he can drive them with the most bang for his buck, not being as big and ugly and stinky as some of the other guys. So that will come with time. This unit was bad in this game. They got their ass kicked. The Browns were gunning downhill. They are, and this is why Cole goes nuts, but it's like, the Eagles can run 5-man protection. They can run 5-0. They can fan out. Everybody's got a man. If somebody blitzes, it's cool. If the 6th guy comes, then it's going to be the end man, the furthest away from Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is mobile enough to deal with it. The Ravens have not had that. 2019, they had Yonda, Brown, Stanley. That was good. That was really good. They could do a bit of that, but they didn't really seek to that often. They ran empty, but it was Lamar Jackson kind of took people by surprise. And in 2020, Yonda leaves. Done. So the last 5 years, they have not had a line that can, number one, snap the ball well until they drafted Linderbaum. If we remember the dark ages of Pat McCary throwing the fucking football over his head all the time, and Skura and all that shit. And number two, they can't run 5-man pass pro. So when the run game's not there, you want to throw the ball. Play action out of heavy, play action out of tight, all that stuff's cool. That works. But what if you want to run 5 routes? What if you want to not have the back stay in? What if you want Justice Hill to go route somebody up and not have to stay in pass pro, or not have a tight end stay in and chip and release? That can have benefits, but it's just limiting your options. So I don't trust the Ravens 5-man front against the Lions, against the Chiefs, against the Texans, against the Browns, against these teams they're seeing. So it limits you. You do have Lamar Jackson. So he counterbalances that limitation with his mobility, creates an extra threat. If you can pick up with 6 or 7 guys with a tight end chipping and a back chip and release, whatever it is, it also does create more space for Zay Flowers. Overall, there will be less traffic, those kinds of things. But this game, we saw Linderbaum in one-on-one a ton. I think they slid Falele a good bit to the right. Falele looked better in technique to me, while also relieving him of a little bit of the difficulty of assignment as well through the pass pro they used. But then we saw a lot of Voorhees one-on-one. We saw a lot of Linderbaum one-on-one. Linderbaum got beat like a fucking drum. Voorhees got turned around, spun around, pants pulled down, downtown Jackie Brown. I mean, he got mauled in this game. It's bad, but give these guys a month. If they can remain healthy for 1 month through this tough stretch and go into that bye week in week 7, 6 weeks under their belt, seeing these tough tests, they will become a good unit. I have confidence in that. I think a lot of it is simply continuity, is simply understanding how much help someone needs in what situation, what alignment. Voorhees has still played very little football. Very little football. Falele is still relatively new to guard, and everybody hates him. But he figured it out last year, came to a serviceable level. I don't think he's the reason the Ravens would lose. I don't think Falele is the reason the Ravens fall short, but he's certainly not the reason they accomplish their goal either. So DaCosta doesn't like guards.
That's the way
they don't have good guard play.
It's the way they want it. They just devalue this position, and you can't have everything. So it's like, with all the investment they've made at receiver, I think I'm okay with that as long as these guards can gel in the way that you're talking about. But it is definitely a glaring issue right now. And I hope that the continuity that you're talking about will happen sooner rather than later. It did last season, to be fair. Like, I was very concerned about this offensive line last season. I felt pretty vindicated, wasn't happy to be feeling right about that a couple of weeks into 2024. But guess what? They went on and they figured it out. And I think Warhop is as good of a replacement for Joe D as you could have asked for based upon what we saw last year. Hopefully that continues.
Agreed. And they haven't put any resources into it, into the position. I mean, Emory Jones, someone that they like there. Anything you get out of him in 2025 is a luxury. Missing all of camp with that injury. So we'll see. People asking in the comments here, can they trade for a guard? Yeah. I mean, yeah, they could trade for a guard. I do find offensive line, like I mentioned, continuity. I do find that to maybe be something that could be more fickle or volatile in acquiring mid-season and working in. But a good one is probably just going to be good fast. If it's a veteran guy that's played 7 years with 3 different offensive coordinators, 3 different quarterbacks. And, if you find Kevin Zeitler from 4 years ago at the trade deadline, he can probably plug in there. What Cole and I always say, and it just doesn't make sense, is like, why are Voorhees and Falele the guards, but then Stanley, Rosengarten, and Linderbaum are the other 3? Stanley is a athletic, lean, moving left tackle. Rosengarten, I just described, is a 3-and-D wing. It's a perimeter player for an offensive lineman. And Linderbaum is a fullback. Linderbaum is like built like Pat Ricard and even stubbier. They run. But then you have these 2 slower, plodding, square-shaped, more sluggish, like they should be physical, whatever. I don't mean to shit talk them in that regard, but like stylistically, they're just a more methodical, plodding guard. Like it's more of what the Ravens liked in Greg Roman's offense. And I think of Bradley Bozeman, like that guy's not getting out in space. So why is it like finesse, that type, finesse, that type, finesse? I don't think it makes sense overall. Like I really don't, especially for if it was one guy that was like that and he was quality, it would make sense. I just don't know why that's the composition that they've decided on. So, and also
like Falele is like a 6'7" converted tackle who, like you mentioned, had really not played much football throughout his life. It's just a very weird solution.
It is. And I think that is where the Ravens, again, I've said it 100 times, but I think that's where they don't value that position. If you stack quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, corner, safety, guard is the last one of the 22, I think, to them. Like,
I'd probably agree with that, to be honest. I mean,
that's all they've showed us. That's all they've shown us. And guard is one of the lowest paid positions. But I was also Cole and I were talking about it a bit. Who are the good guards in the NFL? Are we just in like a guard lull in the NFL? I was just looking at it, like who is the preeminent guard in the NFL right now?
Probably still Nelson, right?
Yeah. And he's had some injury issues, sure. But he's not on fucking overtime all the time with these highlight blocks and, better watch out for freaking Quentin Nelson. Like he's been good, but he's not like what he was. I just don't know who he's. Ben Powers is like in that group, and he's been good for Denver. But he's not a guy that gets out in space either. So I'm looking around here, like pass protection wise, going through just like PFF, like who's at the top. Michael Wenyu, he's not a household name. Michael Jordan, Damian Lewis, Trey Smith is really good, I think, on the Chiefs. Peter Skoronski was drafted really high. Puny has been pretty good for the 49ers. Who's the preeminent guard? Like you mentioned Quentin Nelson. I don't think there's a second guy that you have in that conversation is like, if you went to Madden, I would gather that the guards probably have the least amount of 90 overalls. Like that's how I think of it. I just, are we in a lull of guard play in the NFL? I don't know. It's odd. The tackles are getting all the glory now. Where are my guards at? Somebody stand up here and let's find some Hall of Fame guards coming into the league this year and make it a little more fun again.
Yeah, still got Tooney. We got Lindstrom getting a shout out in the. Is McGarry a guard or is he a center? I always forget with him.
Caleb McGarry.
Yeah,
I thought he was a tackle.
Is he a tackle? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, Damian Lewis on the Panthers got a big contract.
Great actor.
I don't know. Very good actor. Zion Johnson was a high pick for the Chargers. He hasn't been stellar. Tyler Booker was a high pick for the Cowboys. I don't think he's been stellar. Lindstrom has a big contract on the Falcons. He's been a good player, but I just don't think there's any. Tyler Smith. Yeah, Tyler Smith is probably up there too.
Cowboys like him. They like
Tooney was probably that guy. He's been kind of quieter, older.
Yeah.
Up in the Bears. I would be lying if I was breaking down Joe Tooney's tape this year. But yeah, he was probably that guy. I don't know, but those are the good guards. Yes, you guys named them. Nelson, Tooney, Smith. Where's the pizzazz? These are all picks without pizzazz, to quote a Baltimore Sun bigwig. Do guards suck now? That's my walkaway.
It might just be devalued overall by the league, and maybe every team is asking themselves this: like, why is this Jag from like the 6th round our guard when we're overinvested elsewhere? Or we have like these great tackles. Why is it's just like maybe that's conventional wisdom, and we're kind of just catching up to that now. Picks without pizzazz, you know.
I suppose. Miners, yeah, I don't know.
Denver's double
That's
guard.
what I'm saying. Easy says there's no Zach Martin. Yeah, I mean, let's go back. Let's look at the top guards from 2012, and let's think about those names. I'm gonna go pull up. We'll go pull up guards from that era. Let's see here if it wants to calculate for me. But come on, something pull up. PFF giving me bad radio time here, so it'll pull up in a moment. But again, don't have to belabor it. Ravens guards aren't good. A lot of teams have bad guards overall. Like Cole was like, oh, I think the Ravens have the worst guards in the league. I was like, do they? There's quite a few teams that have the Steelers in their own division have very poor guard play. So I don't know, man. Just a weird happenstance around the league, if you ask me. And nobody did, but I'm stating my opinion for the record.
I did.
Thank you, Jake.
You're welcome.
Anything else? What else are you thinking of in that big brain of yours?
I'm just loving what I'm seeing from Zay Flowers so far. He just feels like somebody said it on Twitter. I apologize for not crediting it correctly, but it feels like he's the go-to guy in this offense right now. Felt like for a long time it was Mark Andrews. Felt like we flirted with likely being it for stretches over the past year, 2 years. Man, it just feels like Zay Flowers is very much the guy Lamar is looking to on money downs. I mentioned that 3rd and 13. Everything he did in the Buffalo game, he had a play schemed up for him where he scored a touchdown. But outside of that, he's still probably the best guy as far as playing outside of structure, coming back to the football for Lamar. He made that comment about how he's not going to over pursue after plays and try to do all the jitterbug kind of stuff that he was doing that would infuriate people a little bit. It just seems like he's not thinking nearly as much, and he's just going out there and playing and trusting his athleticism, trusting that functional strength. I think his sort of midsection muscles he was talking about to help kind of get that power train going a little bit better. He's just such a joy to watch. And man, he's trending himself towards a big payday, hopefully here in Baltimore.
I agree. And I think he's matured a lot. I think he was a reckless kind of youth coming in, and pardon me as I have a sneeze coming on here, but was a reckless youth coming in. Went through something we all have done, right? Had his hair all long coming out of college, and then suddenly he's got a clean cut, a nice smile. He's well dressed. He's well spoken. I think he's starting to mature there, Zay. And hey, I'm loving that. I hope that's every time. I'm thoroughly enjoying the Queen's Low.
I saw Claire Dunphy was doing that before the game. Julie Bowen. I'm a Ravens fan. Of course, I do the Queen's Wave.
She looked like she was having a blast. So. But Zay, to me, I think has that big contract in sight. 1,000-yard receiver, 1st-round pick, a lot of money. And if he got himself a new lady, we have in the comments, I haven't seen that one, but sounds like he's got his chickens and his mentals in the right spot, to quote Marshawn Lynch, and has a big payday ahead of him if he can lock those down. And then talking about it, best wide receiver in Ravens history, Curtis Green says, has a chance to. He's on that trajectory for sure. I mean,
he's very much on that trajectory. Like I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, and
relatively.
Especially consider if he simply was able to score that touchdown against the Chiefs, what was be said instead. And the people still have such a nice positive narrative about him when that was a tough play. It was a great play
And
by
he had the penalty in that game too, the taunting. I mean, you talk about maturing. That's feels like something he wouldn't do anymore.
I concur. I think lesson learned from that one. So we have Gabe DiNicolo here in the comments. Pretty slow start for Bateman. Yeah, he's looked good on tape. It's just same song, different album.
He's not going to turn into AJ Brown looking like Eeyore, trying like hell not to like bemoan the fact that he's not getting targets when they're 2-0. He's just like you can just see him seething beneath the surface, but he's like, we're 2-0. What do you want me to say?
Right. Reading his book on the sideline. But Bateman, yeah, looks good. DeAndre Hopkins, take I wanted to put on this podcast as well. Like, do the Ravens win a Super Bowl if they traded for DeAndre Hopkins in his prime when he got traded to the Cardinals?
Whether they do or they don't, they should have done it. That was a head scratcher at the time. I will bemoan that for the rest of my days. Like it just felt like a pretty obvious move to go and make. They probably should have just drafted him. I think they were picking 32 that year, and he went in the first, if I remember correctly, the late first there to the Texans. But man, just feels like another guy. It happens a lot with these veteran receivers, Derek Mason, Anquan Bolton, Steve Smith. What do we say about them? Oh, it feels like they've been a Raven their whole career. This feels like another one of those. And if all he does is twice a game make a contested catch like that, shit, man, sign me up for it, because he's got 3 so far. And how many times? And this kind of goes into what I was talking about with Zay being the number one guy. It definitely felt like early in his career, and this is true for a lot of young quarterbacks, but for Lamar, I think in particular, he tended to throw over the middle more to his trusted guys because you had stronger tight ends with Andrews and certainly likely coming to the mix. When has Lamar had a receiver like this? I mean, it's been a talking point for a long time. People wanting them to go and get DK Metcalf to do the same thing, but just the idea of being able to throw it up outside the numbers and feel like relatively confident that you have a shot to make that catch. Have not had a guy like that. And my God, if this continues the way that it's been going, like I said, it could be 1 or 2 big catches a game. We saw a little bit of it from Odell in 2023, but if you can get that again out of this guy, sign me up. That's pretty much all you need out of him, I feel like.
Looks fresh, looks healthy, and shockingly good. He just can stack and box out, and he's physical. I always remember him. What year was it, Jake? Thursday Night Football, Texans at home, I think, against Jimmy Smith, 2016. 2017, torched Jimmy Smith, had 7 for 120, 130 in Baltimore, I believe. I think it was Thursday night, but Jimmy was such a physical corner, and he was able to out physical Jimmy. And I was never forget, like, watching the ways that he worked open. It was like a post player that just understood leverage so well while moving at high speeds. And that ability we've seen several times now, obviously the huge pause, and brings an element. I mean, I said on this podcast, like I was more tickled by the Odell signing than I was by the DeAndre Hopkins signing, but I love the idea of the depth, but he's not depth. I don't think beautiful part about it too. I think someone just mentioned in the comments, like, yeah, he played in a Super Bowl last year. He was playing a fucking shitload of snaps for the Chiefs at one point. Let's see how many he was playing, but he was playing so many snaps. And then we go look at Tez Walker. We go look at Tylan Wallace, who both scored touchdowns also in this game. Obviously, you mentioned Bateman and Flowers. You don't need DeAndre Hopkins to play notable snaps. Keep him fresh. It's an older player. He's been there. He's done that. I think it's a really good situation for him. He looks healthy. I think he really enjoys Lamar. I think their personalities. I think Lamar just like is a fan of his. Lamar was, probably 17 years old playing Madden while Nuke was in the league already, making crazy plays coming out of Clemson. So I think it's not like, oh my God, Nuke, but I think there's a little tiny bit of like, oh yeah, I can't believe I get to throw him the ball and he's making all these crazy plays for me. So all of that was super fun. And I'm pulling up snap counts here for the Kansas City Chiefs from last year. He was second on them in targets. He had 86 targets last year for them. He played 35, 32, 38, 32, 33 for them in a pretty good stretch there. So doesn't need to do that. There's going to be games, I think, where he can completely chill. They won't need him to make plays. There'll be a few of those. There's other guys that can step up. We haven't even talked about Isaiah Likely and what he's going to be able to bring. There will be games where, Derrick Henry rumbles and Bateman makes a couple plays, things like that. So I think they can get away with some snap counts that are a little lower for him, keep him super fresh, and be a certified fresh tomato.
Yeah, and that's literally all I'm talking about. Just give me.
He played 8 snaps in this game, by the way. Excuse me, right. 8 pass snaps. Might have been slightly more than that.
Right. Give me 1 to 3 of those reps a game where you're winning one-on-one downfield and just making that contested catch. Like I said, that Odell factor was a big part of probably why they went on that run in 2023. You're just much more diversified when you have that, because you love the guys that can win in space and get open and certainly make plays after the catch. You've certainly got that in Flowers, definitely with Bateman as well, who's actually developed into a great deep threat too in his own way. But just this guy that, like I said, a boundary jump ball 50-50 receiver. We just have not seen Lamar have that. And we have not seen him trust a guy in the way that he already kind of seems to trust Nuke, where he's dropping the ball in the bucket in the Bills game to the flag on the right side. He's double covered. He's got safety help over the top, and he just makes a one-handed catch. Like Lamar probably just sighed after that and was like, holy shit, like never had that before. And then once again, running a mile back forward, hawking one up to him, makes a catch that, again, should have been a touchdown. And then later in the game, another one, little garbage time, just pop it up there. Moon ball, the type of ball that you said on X, the Everything app, that he just did not have in the bag 6 years ago, maybe even more recently than that. It just seems like, as cool as it would have been to get Hopkins like in his absolute prime in like 2019 era, it's almost just as cool now because his skill set seems to be conducive to what Lamar has grown into, which is a guy that's able to challenge the boundaries a little more, able to make use of that skill set. It's just, it's been fun to watch, and I'm excited to see more of it.
November 27th, 2017, Houston Texans at Baltimore Ravens on Monday night, 8:30 start time at M&T Bank Stadium. Time of the game, 3:06, 70,000 in attendance. Lamar Miller had a 4-yard rushing touchdown. Javarius Buck Allen had a 10-yard rushing touchdown. Alex Collins had an 8-yard rushing touchdown. And then Kaimi Fairbairn and Justin Tucker went back and forth, exchanging 6 field goals. The Ravens had a 14-10 lead before a field goal was kicked and won 23-16. In that game, which was week 12, either 11 or 12. Ravens were 6-5 after the game.
Was this Brock?
This was Tom Savage.
Oh, Tom Savage is real. Wow. That is a blast from the past, the Macho Boy. I forgot all about that. The Tom Savage run in Houston. Legendary. That was the Brock year, but Brock, like, oh my God, what a disaster that was.
That was horrible. Poor Brock. He threw 10 passes to DeAndre Hopkins, who caught 7 of them for 125 yards with a 39-yard longest reception in that game. Go watch that game. I just remember him beating up on Jimmy on like intermediate kind of boundary routes. And that was kind of what I think of when Nuke was like probably a 99 in Madden and was absolutely disgusting. That was a fun little game. But like I said, I mean, that's what we've talked about. And what if they didn't draft fucking Hollywood Brown and they drafted AJ Brown or DK Metcalf or Terry McLaurin, big, strong, fast guys that you can throw up contested catches to, and they will rip them away from the DB and outbox them and all those things. Just 30, what is he, 35 now? No, he's 33. Okay. He's just a year older than me. Not that old. But nice to see a bit here. Hopefully inspires some of that contested catch ability. Isaiah Likely has been missing from the equation. He has really become that guy. Him and Andrews for the definitely, even last year, that catch he had against the Eagles, but then Likely has had some of those ridiculous, high point in the end zone or over multiple defenders, all that kinds of stuff. So 2 of those guys, Andrews, they've been using Andrews as like a Y a lot. He's been running routes as a slot H, or if you want to call it a Y, but I don't know. He looks all right. He's getting separation. He's winning leverage. I get it. Everyone hates him for the drop in Buffalo and the fumble, but the defender punched that ball out. Could he have ripped the ball away? I think Cole said it reminded him of Lee Evans. Like, yeah, the defender just punched that ball out. But definitely not a yak threat. Like the beginning of his career, he was a crazy yak threat, kind of like in ways to how Tyler Warren kind of looks right now. I mean, he used to rumble, run through guys, outrun guys, make guys miss. That's just not in his bag anymore. So I think he's shifting into more of a why. He's blocking, doing some dirty work, working over the middle of the field, working in the red zone. And we're going to see Likely come in and do a lot of what Mark Andrews used to do.
Yeah, I think I probably missed on that one, thinking he would be very productive right out of the gates. But I will say I'm pleased about it because it seems like they have really opened up the offense to where they're willing to challenge, like I said, with the wide receivers, with Hopkins, with Flowers. Like, it just feels like they don't need to rely on him anymore, which is good. So if it gets to a point where I think you made the kind of Zach Ertz and Washington comparison, like just no yak, but if you can get to the sticks and make a couple clutch catches, I think that's just fine. And yeah, we'll see what the future holds. But in the meantime, if he is a problem point in your offense when Likely is set to come back, hopefully this game, maybe the game after, like I think that's just fine.
Well said. So yeah, physical defense, high-powered offense, play aggressively, call aggressively, trust guys on the back end. I loved that they benched Jair Alexander. He's not ready. He looked like shit. Take him out. Why go throw him back out there again and let it look worse and let him get hurt and all that stuff? TJ Tampa made a couple nice plays in this one. Just looked like he was in the right spot. He did let up the late touchdown at the end. You can knock him, and sure, and maybe lets up another couple touchdowns this year. We'll see. But let that guy take 15 snaps instead of Jair Alexander. Don't play him against the Lions on Monday night. Like, sit him out. Don't play him against the Chiefs if you don't have to. If you have to, sure. Have him play against the Texans in week 5. Like, let him get his practice reps. Let his knee heal. Work him back in. You have other guys right now. Let him stay fresh. We like fresh legs on this podcast. We want Jair to have some fresh legs coming off that injury.
We certainly do. All right, pal. Anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
We'll talk about it on Thursday. I was going to do some Bo stuff. Bo's not joining us tonight, but he had another big week. He went 5-1, 3-0 in the picks he gave for college football here. He hit on New Mexico. He hit on UCLA. Or excuse me, he hit on New Mexico. He hit on Purdue. That's what it was. Purdue. I think he said Vandy too, honestly. And then he hit on Arizona. All of those he hit on this show.
I'm going to apologize to Bo in advance because I'm going to start tailing him this weekend. Let me tell you, that is not a good sign for him.
We're just playing value plays, so it is what it is. They don't always hit, but he had another good week. We had some big ones. Curtis Green, you ever see Zay Flowers getting a 200-yard game? Yeah, if he has like 170-yard catch, sure, could happen. I think his career high yards will be 188. That's my prediction for him.
Yeah, I just don't know if they need it out of him at this point. I mean, maybe after Henry's been gone for a little bit, let's say Zay gets a second contract and he really truly becomes the focal point. Yeah, but it's just like there's only so many mouths to feed on this offense. There's only one ball, as they say in the NBA. And they could say in the NFL too.
They could. They certainly could. Survivor pool, where are we at with that? Got to get my pick in. I don't think we lost many this week. Let's see what we got here. For those of you who are in, if you do go to Morning Mugs and say Exit 52, they'll give you a little sticker and a little deal on your coffee. Check them out if you're going to the any of these 1 o'clock games, especially if you need a little coffee. Check out Morning Mugs located in Otterbein. Let's see what we've got here. We have a whopping 193 remaining. We actually lost a fair amount. 70 eliminated. I think some Monday Night Football eliminations occurred based on what I'm looking at here. Looks like the Ravens, 20% of the pool picked. Rams, Cowboys, Cardinals, Niners, and then we saw some people miss on the Jets, the Vikings, the Broncos. Quite a few missed there. So, yeah. Weeding on down. This is a reminder to go make your pick if you're in. Still 193 people left. And Easy says no more South Carolina picks, Ben. I thought the Vandy shit had run out, and it certainly hasn't.
Diego Pavia feeling himself in feeling some type of way, asking out pop stars, collaborating with Theo Vaughn. I mean, what a time.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's a much improved team that I think has done a nice job acclimating into the NIL world and figuring out how to navigate through the SEC. Florida's a joke. I did take that one. Florida is a joke. Napier has always been in over his head, and LSU is the real deal. They have a real defense. Nussey was not spectacular, but managed the game like an NFL quarterback. He very much cruised, got the ball out, managed the run game, did what needed to be done, let the defense do their thing in a rockin' swamp, or not swamp, freaking Death Valley against the Gators, I meant to say. And yeah, that one was big there. Picks that Bo did hit on. We'll talk about it more, shared slips, but he hit Quentin Johnston, 45-plus yard reception, parlayed with a touchdown. Jameson Williams, 50-plus with a touchdown. A couple of things he shared on this show, so make sure to check out his Twitter. We'll have him on Thursday to talk a little bit more. But yeah, keep telling the picks.
Yeah, that, and I love survivor pools. Love to be part of one someday.
Next year. There's always next year.
Yeah, I just got to wait, 360 days or whatever. It's going to be very exciting. All right, pal. Is that all we got?
That's all we got.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging with us here in the live chat. Thank you for everyone who listened back after the fact. Go ahead and subscribe to us here on YouTube if you liked what you heard. Subscribe on your audio platform of choice. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video, comment on it, get that algorithm pumping for us, get us into people's recommended pages. You can find us on social media if you are so inclined at Exit 52 Podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Also on X, you can find me at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny is at Ravens4 Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle there. Ryan at Barstool Banks, Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10, Eric at EDITTI 22. We'll talk to you guys again on Thursday. Until then, have yourself a good week.
See you.
Arrivederci.
Really, really hard and execute your system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes,
sir.
Trust. He's pretty big trust.
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me close.